Hello and welcome back to Victoria's Cantina, where today we're having a look at the Hasbro Star Wars The Vintage Collection Imperial Troop Transport as seen in Star Wars The Mandalorian. I'm super stoked about this. There's a lot of history, a lot of lore behind this particular vehicle, and it's so awesome to have it in the collection. Now, I got mine from Hasbro Pulse. I had pre-ordered it. It retails for $69.99 and offers something kind of new for collectors, but not really, depending on how long you've been collecting Star Wars. Like I said, there's a lot of history behind this particular vehicle. If we look at the packaging here, you have that beautiful vintage collection aesthetic. There's like a broken down TIE fighter in the back. You have Remnant Stormtroopers populating the vehicle. The Remnant Stormtroopers, one of the new vintage collection figures. I have not found those in stores. Of course, I'm kind of trying to stay home at the moment. A little bit of a look at the vehicle there again. On the side, we get a look at some of the features that the vehicle has. Same is true of the other side. You can see how you can populate your Imperial Troop Transport, or are we calling this the ITT yet? I don't know, but I think I'm going to. The very top gives you a glimpse of the inside of the cockpit, 2 troopers in there. And down here you get all the usual jargon that comes on these boxes, another look at the vehicle. And there's the back. It's basically the same exact thing that you get on the front. Alright, so I've got plenty of troopers ready to populate this thing. Let me go ahead and get this out of the box. When we come back, we'll take a closer look at the ITT. Alright, you guys, now here's the Imperial Troop Transport out of the packaging, and I ain't gonna lie, as I opened the box and saw this, I had a huge smile on my face. I was really happy with what I was seeing here. Like I said, there's a lot of history behind this thing. This was originally created back for the vintage Star Wars line. It was actually the very first Star Wars toy that was made that actually wasn't in the films. But it was completely believable as something that could have existed off screen in A New Hope or, any of the original trilogy. Its vintage predecessor from the late 70s was designed by a Star Wars design legend at Hasbro / Kenner, Mark Boudreau, who's been there for 40 plus years, designing Star Wars toys all the way back to the very beginning. He designed that original one. He designed this one in the vintage collection. So it's really awesome. It's got that genuine Kenner Star Wars heritage, as well as the kind of quality that you've come to expect from the vintage collection. So this also appeared in Star Wars Rebels, and Hasbro did make a toy of that as well. I don't have the Kenner original vintage version. Tom Chorlton, who's the co-host of Cantina Chatter podcast for Star Wars Collecting, actually does have it. We talked about it in the most recent episode. But I do have the Rebels version that Hasbro released. I think it might have been like 2015 that came out. I've never taken it out of the packaging, but I do have it in the collection. But truth be told, it's not anywhere near as impressive as what we're getting this time. I mean, just look at the beautiful detail on this vehicle. I mean, it is absolutely stunning. The sculpt is really magnificent. It actually has a very original trilogy feel to it. Just the overall aesthetics to it. It's got that like late 70s, 1980s sort of vibe, just in its architecture and its design. Very space shuttle-like, I would say. It looks great. This looks freaking fantastic. I love this thing. Just, I've only had it open for like 10 minutes and I'm loving it. The sculpt, like I said, it's completely there. It looks exactly like what we see in The Mandalorian. By the way, when this popped up on screen in The Mandalorian, like I said, it's kind of a deep cut. You wouldn't know about this if you're a casual Star Wars fan. If you're not a collector, you probably wouldn't really know about it or its history. But when I saw this on screen in The Mandalorian, my jaw literally just like dropped. Like I was stoked to see this. I love this thing. I don't know what else to tell you guys. It just looks freaking amazing. Here's the undercarriage. Look at all the detail on it. Beautifully sculpted, beautifully painted. And I mean, this could have just been like a flat surface and I still would have loved it. But look at that. It's got like the repulsor lift sort of engine on the bottom. It's got wheels. You got 1 wheel there. You got 2 more right here. So 3 wheels total. Yeah, it just looks incredible. Just the level of paint detail that went into doing this. It's unlike anything I've seen Hasbro do, save for maybe the sail barge. I mean, even the combat assault tank didn't have detail quite like this. And that was a stunning vehicle too. I just love every aspect of how this looks. I mean, there's like blaster marks there, score marks. Yeah, I mean, it just looks awesome. Like you can rotate this turret up here. This comes detached out of the box. You do have to attach that. Other than that, it's fully assembled already. So there's not a whole lot else you have to do. Here's the little slots for your figures. to put them in. You can see that there's 6 of them. You can actually see through the vehicle right there. So I think that's kind of a neat touch. I love that kind of thing. The sail barge also had that sort of aspect to it. Here's your cockpit. You can see through that as well. And yeah, it's beautifully detailed. And as far as the weight goes, it's not like super, super lightweight. It's not like heavy either, but it feels like vintage collection quality in terms of, you know, the stuff they used to do back in the 2010s, or, you know, even before that. So that is really, really awesome. So let's talk about the features that this vehicle incorporates into its design. So the first thing here, so you do have these little cannons that stick out. Those are actually attached to the doors. They actually open like this, which is pretty cool. They hinge back all the way, so you're going to get a full, you know, swing back on those doors. You can see that the little cannons right there are actually attached right in here. There's a screw that holds them in place. You have stickers. That sticker's a little sloppily applied. I mean, it's not terrible, but yeah, it's a little sloppy. This one looks a little bit better. Here's the cockpit on the inside. You can see all the detail in there. They still didn't skimp. It's very detailed in there. If you look at the roof line in there, I mean, that just looks really, really cool. Oh, and go a little closer up there. And yeah, you can definitely see all that in there. There's even a window right there so you can see the back if you're piloting it. Here's the inside. You can see there's more stickers, more details. You have these little panels that swing forward and more stickers there. And they also spin. You can rotate them like that. And that just gives you room to seat your trooper in there. So plenty of room for your troopers. And we're going to close these. I already mentioned the little turret up here. That does spin, so you can rotate the turret if you wanted to reposition it. We do have a little door up here at the top. That opens just like this. You can see the inside a little bit. And you also have some more weathering on the inside. It's not just dirty on the outside, it's weathered on the inside as well. Close that back up. Here at the back, we actually have another door. So this just opens up like that. And yeah, you can see inside there. So lots of detail in there. The sculpting is incredible. Just through and through, this looks amazing. And beyond that, if you wanted to, you could also remove the top hatch. So the top hatch is just one piece. It's right up here. Comes off super easily. You just pull on it like that. And here's what this looks like underneath, just to show you guys the level of detail here. It's really incredible. Like I said, this is just a panel. Like, it didn't really need to have anything under here, but it does, and it looks amazing, and I got to show it to you guys because I freaking love that. Let's look at the inside. Get a load of this. Look at this detail in here. It is freaking awesome. And I know I sound like a broken record saying how incredible this is, but, you know, I'm excited about it. I'm passionate about it, and I think that Hasbro did an amazing thing here, so I got to, you know, commend them for that. Right here you have these little chairs. My hand's in the way right there, but the chair opens up like that. There's actually 4 of these guys, and you kind of got to stick your hand in there, but, you know, you pull them down like that. And there's also like a dummy chair right there. It does not open up that one. And then you have another dummy one right here, but then the other 2 do open up when you pull them down. So you're going to have a total of 4 seats. Like 4 bench seats that just kind of fold down. And then you also have a weapons rack right there. And it actually works. If you take the little Stormtrooper blasters that come with these guys, you know, they do stay in place just like that. So that is pretty nice. And you can use the bottom one too. So I love this. I mean, this truly is an Imperial troop transport if you think about it, considering all the features that it has, all the figures that it incorporates. All right, you guys, here it is, the fully decked out Imperial troop transport with all of my Stormtroopers. And while I don't have the Mandalorian Remnant Stormtrooper, if you go back and look at that scene in Mandalorian, the troopers that stepped out of this vehicle were actually all clean. Like the uniforms were all white and bright clean. So this is actually screen accurate. I was going to say film accurate, but it's not a film, right? TV show accurate, program accurate. I'm going to stick with scene accurate. I think that sounds the cleanest. But yeah, so I have 6 troopers occupying all of the slots. Of course, in the show, I think the doors swung open like that and they hopped out. This doesn't do that. But it's fine. It's fine. Maybe if one of them on each side would have done that, that would have been kind of nice. But not really a big deal. They look great. You know, have them posed a little bit differently, each figure. And same on this side, I've got different, well, they're all the same trooper. These are all the Rogue One Vintage Collection troopers right there. And, they're all ready to go into battle. And here at the cockpit, I do got my 2 doors that I'm going to open here and show you the figures on the inside. So those guys are piloting the Imperial troop transport. And I really love the engineering with these control panels. I mentioned that they're able to move, and they're on a ball joint down there, so they move in all directions. But it's really nice so that you can get your figure oriented just right. So that is really, really cool. You can actually see that there's not quite enough room to fit all 4 troopers into the 4 seats there, because the troopers kind of take up a lot of room. They take up a lot of real estate, so you're not going to get 4 of them sitting in there unless maybe you position them a little bit differently with the legs in a different manner. But to have even a couple troopers in there, I think is really cool and really increases your playability. For those curious, here's a size comparison between the ITT and the assault tank. And you can see that they are roughly about the same size. The combat assault tank is actually a little bit wider than the Imperial troop transport, but the Imperial troop transport's a little bit taller than the tank. But they're both awesome. I think the ITT is a lot cooler, personally, given the history, and I just think it looks, it feels more Star Wars, and, it feels more from that original trilogy era than that does. So I like both. I think they're both beautifully detailed. But given the choice, I would definitely side with the troop transport. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so there you have it. This is the Hasbro Star Wars The Vintage Collection Imperial Troop Transport as seen in Star Wars The Mandalorian. Overall, you guys, I think this is a fantastic vehicle. One of the best things that's come out of the Vintage Collection, in my opinion, since it's been back for the last couple years. Now listen, I think the detail on this thing is absolutely exquisite. I think Hasbro did an amazing job with it. It is a little expensive at $69.99. There's no denying that. But when you think of the quality you're getting with this, when you think of the nostalgia, the history, and the Mandalorian, which who doesn't love the Mandalorian, right? I mean, this is a fantastic piece to add to your collection. And that's especially so if you're a fan of the Empire, you're a fan of the vehicles, and all the things that really populate the Star Wars universe, because no doubt this is going to look awesome on a shelf display. I can't wait to get it on the shelf. The sculpting here is very nice. Looks exactly like what we saw in The Mandalorian. Scaled down a little bit, that is true. It's a little smaller than what's actually seen in the show. I kind of would have not minded it being a little bit bigger, even if it was a little more expensive, but it is what it is. The size is pretty good. And there's just no denying the amount of deco that went into bringing this vehicle to life. It really is beautifully detailed. One of the nicest things Hasbro has ever done in the 3 3/4 inch scale. Again, a nod to the past, a nod to the present with The Mandalorian, and a nod to just great quality toys, which is really the heritage of the Star Wars line going back to its genesis, all the way in 1978. Whether you're collecting to keep in box or collecting to put on the shelf, you really cannot go wrong here, in my opinion. I say get it. I'm going to go ahead and rate this a 10 out of a 10. I mean, there's really no fault I can find with this other than it being a little bit downsized from what we see in The Mandalorian and the price being a little bit high. But you know what? It is what it is. We're kind of used to that at this point with the Vintage Collection. Smaller production runs and basically online only. I don't know that stores are going to carry this, so they kind of have to price a little bit higher. And also, the level of quality that goes into the actual product. So go ahead and order it. You're really not going to regret it. It's totally, totally worth it. Love it. All right, my friends, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts down below. Will you be picking up the ITT? Be sure to sound off down below. And as always, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Victoria's Cantina. Until next time, bye-bye.